Now, going international, okay? That affects food security in Africa. The Russia-Ukraine war. Okay. I know, like you mentioned, we import massive amount of food.
Yeah,
including wheat, okay, which Russia and Ukraine are top 5 exporters. Okay.
Yes.
Sunflower.
Right.
Yeah. And even if we decide not to import food, but grow everything in Africa, we need fertilizer.
Yeah.
Again, which Russia is a major producer. So tell my audience the extent, okay, how the Russia-Ukraine war is affecting food security in Africa.
Yeah, thank you very much. Russia-Ukraine war is a macro factor, and it came just shortly after we were trying to revive ourselves from the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
And so, okay, now what happens is that when you don't have well-structured systems, when challenge is coming, they blow up the system easily. Yeah, because it's not strong in the foundation, it's not systemized, and so we have a little problem with the structure of the supply chain system for agricultural commodities and for many other commodities in Africa. And so when the Ukraine-Russia war came in, like you rightly mentioned, there are many agricultural commodities that is being supplied to Africa, bought from Ukraine, bought from Russia.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, wheat, sunflower, even maize, soybeans.
Okay.
Surprise. Yeah.
Okay.
They're still imported, into the continent. Now, what happens is that when the war came in, there was a disruption in the supply. And so for a country like Nigeria that depends on that heavily consume bread, and bread has the major component of bread that we consume here is wheat flour.
Yeah.
And now wheat is not available, and then we had to look for other options of bringing in the wheat. And so what happens was that the prices of wheat went up. Consequently, the prices of bread went up. And people find it difficult to be able to afford it. And of course, the ones that could afford it, could only try to get as much as little they could afford. And that's, yes, because another thing that I would love to say here is that wheat is being grown in Nigeria.
Okay.
There's some agroecological factors, in some parts of Nigeria, precisely in the north, that accommodates wheat growth. But of course, it cannot be sufficient for the entire populace.
Yes.
And so years ago, the government came up with a policy of cassava flour inclusion, because Nigeria is a heavy cassava flour grower. As a matter of fact, we are the largest producer in the world. And so we came with an inclusion to substitute a percentage with wheat flour, so that we can still consume the bread, but it will now include cassava flour.
Okay.
Now, the policy had issues. Many issues came up. I mean, I won't probably want to go into that, but at the end of the day, it didn't work. Not that it can't work, it can work.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, I'm telling you this upfront, that for Nigeria, we really have to go back to revisit that policy. So it can work, but at the time it didn't work, and of course that is where we are. As a matter of fact, some bakeries are being forced. Something I call they are being forced to use cassava flour.
Interesting.
At a very small quantity, with their wheat. This is not, the policy still exists. I mean, they didn't scrap the policy, but of course it's not yet legalized. It's not it's not legalized. Like legalized is not the right word. It's not yet adopted.
Okay.
In the nation. So, but because of economic reasons, some of the bakeries, some of the confectionery factories are now using cassava flour, with wheat, so that they can stay in business.
Yeah.
They can be afloat. And while increasingly cassava snacks, cakes, and some of these other confectionaries are increasingly now they're using cassava flour. So what I'm saying in essence is that Ukraine-Russia war brought in food insecurity. As far as wheat is concerned, sunflower, maize, soya beans. Our own dependence in Nigeria, for example, of maize supply from outside the country is not in Russia. We depend more from Brazil for our maize supply. That is another problem entirely. We ought to produce our maize here. So, but I know East Africa, South Africa, and some parts of Sub-Saharan Africa depends heavily on Russia and Ukraine. Of course, including Nigeria. So it has affected first the price of bread.
So you were telling me that the conflict in Ukraine and Russia is impacting food security in Africa. And then you also mentioned that some of the issue we have in Nigeria in particular is based on the importation of food from South America, especially Brazil, you said.
Brazil and many others. So, but largely, going back to the question, Russia and Ukraine's conflict is affecting Africa. But the solution, because I always look at the solutions and I always want to dwell with the solutions, is for Africans and African countries to look inwards and begin to heavily produce for export. Yes, because
very good.
This cannot continue. For exports, yes, this cannot continue, and try to overcome all the internal challenges that we've had, and so that we can actually, as it were, compete. Not necessarily for countries outside the continent, but even for countries within. Export to countries within the continent, and that's why the AfTA, agreement is going to play a pivotal role. Where there's going to be free trade among African countries. So that's it.
Yes. Now, see, yes, I know there's a lot of debate about globalization, blah blah blah. See, looking at how progress have happened in the last 70 years, compared to before, I would say that globalization has it has been more positive than negative.
I agree with you. Absolutely.
It has been. See, if not for it, maybe me and you would not be existing. That's the truth.
You're right.
Because look at the population of Africa before. In fact, the whole world. Globalization allowed people to trade without fear of what are they called? People who take the pirates, pirates on the sea, because globalization has done a lot of good things. Now when it comes to the displacements of internal manufacturing producers, yes, it has done that. Now if we the countries of Africa work individually to find the products or the agricultural products that you are best at, and focus on it. And the next country does their own, and the next country does their own. And then the free trade agreement will allow us to trade within ourselves. And then anything else we can export. Okay.
I agree with you absolutely. It's not a question of independence or dependence. It's actually a question of interdependence.
Interdependent,
and and that should be the hallmark of African countries. And like you rightly said, I mean, each country has their own comparative advantage, and they need to uphold that. Of course, it doesn't mean they leave the others, but they need to uphold that and then maximize or optimize, as the case may be, the benefits throughout the entire value chain of each of those commodities.
But the truth is that no country can produce everything they want.
Of course.
We need to trade.
We need to trade.
Focus on what you are good at and trade for the ones that you're not good at. That's it.
Absolutely.
Good. So